today, and we are going to be talking about how we help our clients navigate this uncertainty. It's been a little bit of a wild ride lately with the stock market here in the US, and I know our board member Ruth Winden was talking about how there's a recession that is expected in the UK. So I don't know where you are and what you're seeing, but I'd love if you tell me where you're joining from and what you're seeing in your region in terms of the economy, how things are going. And it's going to be a little bit of a rocky ride, I think, here in the last part of 2022, and rocky on different levels for people. I don't know where you are at and how things are where you are, but we're seeing some spikes in COVID. My area right now, I'm in Colorado, and with people that I know. So I know 5, 6, 7, I know 7 people that just tested positive for COVID this last week. So it's not gone. We're still dealing with that, as well as all of the fluctuations in our economy and mortgage rates increasing exponentially yesterday here in the US as well. Um, Lovely when you're trying to buy a home and we had not yet locked in our rate. So, um, anyways, it's a lot, right? It's a lot for people right now. It's a lot for our clients. And it was kind of a 180. So we had the best job market, there's tons of opportunities, and that still is true in many different industries. And now you've also got hiring freezes and layoffs going on in industries that clash this just huge change very quickly. So again, love to hear where you're joining us and if you have any insights in your area of the world, what's going on and how are people seeing the market in your area. So let's talk about 3 things that people can do. And these are, things I guess I do to help myself when things are uncertain. And I'd love to also hear what you do or what you help your clients do when things are very uncertain and they're trying to make some decisions. So this is a question that I get a lot because I tend to manage a lot. And so people in our community often ask me, Marie, how do you do it all? And I'll just say that I don't, right? I don't think any of us do it all. And there are things that fall through the cracks, and there are a lot of people that help me do the things that I do. And that is how I do it all, is that I'm not doing it all, right? And so this is the first thing that I would say to people is get help, get support, don't isolate, which is hard when we've been in isolation for so long. And some of us have even really started to like it or prefer that, but it's not healthy. It's not what we were meant to do. I was reading something on addiction, completely different topic, but they were talking about how the study that was done with rats related to heroin and how, the right rats or mice would choose the water with heroin in it. That was only true when the mice were isolated in their cage, and that when they had a community and fun things to do, and they described this environment for the rats, right? It had a maze and it had games and it had all these things, that when they were in that environment, they like kind of dabbled with that water, but they didn't prefer it. They didn't go to it consistently like they did when they were alone. And it was just a fascinating, it's just one study, but it was a fascinating idea of the importance of community. And we are seeing this right now in our society in a lot of different ways, that people have been isolated. We may even think that we want that isolation, but when it comes right down to it, we are community animals. Yes, we're much more complex than rats or mice. And how do we make sure we keep that community and support and consciously, intentionally do that, especially when we're faced with this much stress? And some of that support may be beyond just, community. It may be someone to help you. So I know hiring people is hard, although it is getting a little bit easier to hire people for childcare, for home care, housework. As I point back here, we're at my mom's house. I've invaded my mom's house for a few weeks until we close on our new house. And so I've made a mess out of her house because we brought all of our things from our house to her house. So you can get people to help you do things. And I have always found it to be a little bit easier to get help on the personal side than on the business side, although I've been learning how to do that better and better over the last 5 years or so. We got a housekeeper. We had we had a nanny. We had daycares that we loved for our kids. And my business was my first kid, right? I bought it before I had my first son. And so I wanted to balance all of that. And I loved having the nanny and my son at my home and until my second son was about 8 months. But then we found great environments for them to grow and learn in. And that's why we're at my mom's right now, is so that my mom can help with them so that I can continue to run my business and my husband continue to do his job. Who is going to support you? Who is going to support your clients? Whether that's that community support of your spiritual community or your interests community or the very logistical community that you need to support your life. When you don't have that support, it's even more overwhelming and it's isolating, which is not good for us as humans. So speaking of isolating, again, if you're here joining me, feel free to drop your hello in the chat. You may be doing that. And for some reason, I can't see the LinkedIn ones, but I will go back and see them later and love to see your comments and your thoughts. So that's our first thing. When you're in a lot of uncertainty, figure out who your support system is and reconnect, which you're going to have to do consciously and intentionally, because our tendency when we're stressed or overwhelmed for most of us is to withdraw, is to isolate. So helping our clients do that very strategically can be really helpful. Now, the good part, of course, is that if you're in a career change or thinking about a job search, that gets you going on this thing called networking that we talk about with job search, which is really just building those relationships and networking and re-engaging with your community. Hi, Marcia. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining. So then the second thing that I would say is to, just like we're talking about people-wise, opening up your self and connecting with people, is to make sure that you're doing that wisely with your information. So that would be tip number 2, is take in information that is fortifying and helpful to you. So turn off some of the news that is not adding to your mental health. Doesn't mean we want to disconnect from what's going on in the world, but we don't need it 24/7. We do not need the sensationalized versions that we may get on some channels. Get it down to knowing what you need to know to stay connected and to support your, global community. But then think about what information systems can really be helpful to you in your thinking about your career and your plan, since that's the work we do with people, right? So what professional associations can you engage with to get the information that matters and can make you feel like you're on top of the trends and on top of the next wave that might come in your industry? So shut out some of those news sources that aren't offering you much value and in fact may be a strain on your mental health, and tune into those that will help you feel like, hey, I'm prepared for the next thing. I know what's going on. I can talk intelligently if I have to switch into networking mode really quickly because I get laid off or whatever that might be. So figuring out what information you really want to pay attention to and what might help you stay in the know, connected to your industry or the industry that you want to move into information wise. So the first one was people, get that support, build those relationships. The second one is information, so that you are thinking about, how do you want to move forward? And then the third thing that I'll add here, so you've got the people, you've got the information that you might need to make that transition, and then really thinking about yourself and how do you want to take care of yourself. Now, I'm not talking self-care as, massages and bubble baths, although that may be a good fit for you. But the overwhelm that we feel is oftentimes because we are not really connected with what we really value, what do we really want, what are our goals, and that's the self-work that I want you to do. So, kind of going back to the beginning of our conversation when people ask me, "Marie, how do you do it all?" And I'll say, "I really don't, right? I got help. I got other people that help." And then I have priorities, and I've got to realize that where I put my energy and my time is my priorities, and then go back and look at, is that really where I want to be spending my energy and my time? And sometimes it's off, right? But that's that kind of self-care work that we can only do if we are one, some kind of focused. So if that's meditation or exercise or spiritual practice that helps you get centered and really pay attention to the things you want to pay attention instead of the things that are externally validated because we pay attention to them. And if you're currently working, that may be a balancing act because you do need to perform well and have a good reputation where you are right now. But then you need to take the time and energy to really think about where you want to go next and what priorities matter. And then where do those two align? So, what can you do at work to do a great job at your job while also perhaps adding some value for your future goals? And you'll find that that kind of supercharges you when you find those points where they match up, because now you can be better where you are and also be paving your path to where you want to go. And that is so it's powerful, or it's energizing when you realize that, hey, this matters now, but it also matters later. And I would find as many of those points that you can, and find as much purpose as you can in everything that you have to do right now. How will that connect to what you want to do in the future or to getting that next job? Because when you can connect those dots, it just feeds the energy for you to keep moving. And of course, the other thing that will feed the energy is paying attention to those values, to yourself, and to what that self really wants and needs, and how can you set goals, prioritize, and protect your energy around those things. So to me, that is that self-care. And I go get a massage every month because that gives me that opportunity to really relax and unwind in a way that I don't usually. But I also use some positive intelligence cues, and Shirzad Sharmin, he calls it his PQ reps, where you get into your physical body and you either notice sounds or you notice tastes or sights and really connect to the physicality of your body. So if you haven't read Positive Intelligence, I highly recommend it. I have it on audiobook, actually, and I love to listen to it while I drive, because his calm, his way of sharing that information is very edifying for me. So, thinking about how can you bring all of those pieces together and help your clients do that. So, reconnecting to the people, disconnecting for information that's not helpful for them, and then they're also reconnecting to themselves and what really matters so that they can find that integration, find that way that they want to go back and forth between maybe their current state and how they're working towards their future state. So, those were the 3 points that I had for you today, and really thinking about how you want to help your clients move forward and get through this difficult time. We know it will level out again. It may be a while before it does. So, maybe those are also helpful for us, especially those of us in business, thinking about how might we weather some of these ups and downs happen to impact our business as well. How can you use that time to, supercharge your business instead of feeling like you're drained because you're not getting the intake that you need? You can provide that intake for yourself in some ways and make those shifts and changes that will help you be even more profitable, helpful when things turn around, or perhaps even right now, if there's some ways you can connect to what your audience needs now. So we do have our social media for job search class coming up in just a few weeks. It's going to start July 13th. And I keep trying to get this on the screen and it keeps telling me that it's there when it's not. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to share the link with you. But the social media for job search strategist, you'll find it on our website. That's not it. So, anyways, I'm not going to be able to put the link up for you, but I'll try to go and put it in if you're interested. And then in a few weeks, we'll do a little walkthrough of the class so you can see a little bit more. But it's a few weeks away, July 13th, and it's really that step by step of how do you help a client use social media as a tool to connect with their community that they want to be a part of professionally and become known so that they get that insider track to the jobs that may be open, but they'll be the referred candidate. They'll be that person that people know of, even just virtually, before they become a candidate. So we'll see you next week. If you've got topic suggestions or questions that you have that I can answer, please send them my way, and I'd be happy to incorporate those into these Tuesdays. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.